Hey there, welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. If you're brand new to this channel and just found me, yay, you're here. I've been waiting for you. And then if you're a returning subscriber, yay, thanks for coming back. I truly appreciate your support. And always comment down below because if you're a subscriber, you know I reply to every single comment. I love hearing what you all have to say. And anytime you can like, or if you're new, subscribe. Those actions are simple and free and spread magical YouTube fairy dust all over my channel so that it can grow and more people can find it. So my goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can make the best decision as to whether or not you want to spend time or money or both sometimes watching a specific film. So today, the movie I'm reviewing is called What Happens Later. This rom-com movie came out last month when I was on bed rest recovering from a surgery. So I'm trying to catch up here. But now it is available to buy or rent on demand on platforms like Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. So the film is rated R, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. And it is 1 hour and 43 minutes long. Overall, my movie review mom grade is a C. Wah, wah. Now, that doesn't mean the movie is terrible. It's just not fantastic. And I was really hoping to fall in love with this film. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me give you an overview in a nutshell. And then I'll point out things I really liked about the movie. And then some things that I didn't like or just thought could have been done better or differently. Tips for parents, themes worth talking about. And finally, recommendations for other films that are sort of similar that you might like if you like this one, or you might even like better than this one. All right, so in a nutshell, I've often wondered what it would be like to just randomly run into some of my old flames. Have you? Probably. Well, that's what this movie explores when Willa and Bill see each other for the first time in many years when they're snowed in at an airport. The film was directed by Meg Ryan and stars America's sweetheart herself. She wrote the script with Stephen Dietz and Kirk Lynn based on a play by Dietz called Shooting Star. So here's the list of things that I really liked about this film, starting off with Meg Ryan. It's great seeing her in another rom-com. I think it's been 8 years. My favorite rom-com of her many ones, I think, is You've Got Mail. I've seen that so many times. It just always puts a smile on my face. So great, so classic Meg Ryan, right? David Duchovny also does a great job and fits this role very well. And it was interesting to see the two together. The setting of an airport is the perfect location for this couple to meet again. The analogy of baggage rings loud and clear. We learn more about each of these characters slowly as the layers of their lives are stripped away from the surface level conversations of the very beginning when they first meet, and it's awkward and all of that. I thought it was really cute when David Duchovny's character unplugged this electronic poster from an outlet that advertised a movie called Rom-com in order to use that outlet for his cell phone. There is some subtle welcome humor, mostly coming from amusing announcements from the PA system. Fun fact, this was filmed at an airport in Arkansas, in case it looks familiar to you, and I've never been to that one. I could definitely relate to being stranded in an airport. Life completely pauses. All of your plans get tossed out the window. Many years ago, I was actually stranded with some other college students at the Denver airport due to a snowstorm. Flights were canceled, and we wandered around hoping that there would be a magical break in the weather that would allow us to go on our way. We ended up sleeping on the floor because the chairs had permanent armrests, that made it impossible to be comfortable. And I remember waking up on the floor to the sound of an old woman asking, "Are they asleep? Poor dears." The end of the movie shows these words on the screen for Nora, offering a loving tribute to the late Nora Ephron, the former mentor of Meg Ryan. And I love that. I thought that was really sweet. And the ending is very sweet, touching, and appropriate. I just really enjoyed that. And I loved the evolution of the conversation, again, from, kind of awkward chit chat, surface level, to really digging deep into their relationship, what happened, and even their own personal strengths and weaknesses and contribution to the falling apart of that relationship initially. And then again, giving them tools so they could move forward with some closure and even action items on how to approach the next relationships better. Anyway, I loved all of that. Wow, that makes me think, why did I give this movie a C? Maybe I'm bumping it up now. C plus, C minus, I don't know. Let me get to the things that I didn't like about the movie. So first of all, the rom-com genre usually features a charming couple falling in love, right? But what we get here instead is talk of how a couple used to be in love. Of course, there is a remnant of that love, but we don't get the same satisfaction as we would if the outlook for a romantic future were possible with this pair. You know what I mean? And I think as I think about all of my previous boyfriends, they always will hold a special part in my life. And if you're one of them and you're watching, just know that I'll never forget you. And we had great times. And thank you for teaching me all of the things that you taught me. When my sons have dated, and there's two of them are married, two of them are still dating. And if there's a breakup, I always tell them, leave with style and class and thank the other person for the lessons that they taught you, because surely they did. Whether it was a long relationship or a very short one, surely you're a better person for having known them and having been in that experience. Even if it was a really bad experience, I don't think any of them had terrible experiences, but you know what I mean? Anyway, ultimately, and unfortunately, there just wasn't much chemistry between the two very different characters in this story, which made you wonder kind of how they ever got together in the first place. Now, opposites attract. I absolutely get that, but I wanted to feel more. At the beginning, it definitely was stiff. Towards the end, there is some of that magical chemistry as the conversations dig a little deeper, and you do sense that they still and will always have that love for one another. But overall, there wasn't that spark that I was hoping for, like with Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks. I mean, they were in how many? Two, maybe more rom-coms, and you instantly felt that spark. Because it's a rom-com, we want the couple to kiss. Yet, it'd be entirely inappropriate because one of them is married, and yet it's a rom-com. And so there's that I don't know, tension, I suppose, between the audience and what they're watching. A lot of the banter is really only mildly entertaining. The dialogue mostly reveals past mistakes and pain mingled with regrets and sad arguments. And so, again, it doesn't quite fit into that magical, romantic, feel-good rom-com that we expect. Now, I feel terrible saying this, but Meg Ryan's facial plastic surgery is super distracting. She was perfect before and didn't need to do anything to that beautiful face. And I kept looking at her thinking, oh my gosh, she at some point obviously didn't feel beautiful enough that she thought she had to do all of that. And for me, it's just a little distracting and makes me wish that she could go back to how she was before. And anyway, and that has nothing to do with me. It was her choice, and I'm sure she's happy with it. I don't know. Anyway, let me give you some tips for parents. I think kids are going to be ultimately bored and certainly not be able to relate to this relationship and all of the dynamics of a lost love or an ended relationship. Some adults might be a little bored as well. So fair warning, it's a big talking movie, and they kind of move from different parts of the airport. For acts 1 and 2, finally in act 3, there is a little bit more fun, interestingly enough, as well as sadness. There is some profanity and several F-bombs, and that's really what pulls it over into the rated R category. There is talk of premarital relations, talk of giving away a baby born out of wedlock. Infidelity is talked about as well. Some of the themes that are interesting and worth talking about are old romantic relationships, choices and consequences, commitment, secrets, and life's twists and turns, and how important it is for us to not mourn the past and or kick ourselves about past mistakes or things that didn't work out the way we wanted them to, but to learn from them and to move forward. Every day is a new day, and you can be whoever you want to today. So I love that message. Now, whenever I watch movies, I take notes. And even though I was in bed recovering, I had my, notepad and I was taking notes. And what I like to do is write fun and interesting lines. You can see all of them on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. Now, I didn't write down any funny lines, sadly. And like I mentioned, they weren't like loud, laugh out loud type of humor moments, but there were a lot of really interesting lines that I thought were worth writing down. And I'll share some of them with you right now. So Willa, who's played by Meg Ryan, asks David Duchovny's character, are you on a trip or a journey? And back at the end of the movie, he mentions that and how that impacted him. And she makes the distinction of, a trip is you're going from point A to point B, and you're not really thinking about the journey. A journey is that self-discovery mode. And I've been on a lot of journeys on airplanes. And so I loved that thread throughout the film. Another line that she says is, do you think we'd go our entire lives without ever seeing each other again? And I thought that was an interesting line because I think I've only seen a former boyfriend once. Let me think about that. I don't think I've run into any of them. One I saw at my sister's wedding reception, and she had invited him, and so I got to see him. But that was many, many years ago, and I just haven't run into any of them. And I've often wondered, how I would act, and I'm hoping I'm going to lose that 70 pounds or whatever, before I do run into any of them. Anyway. And then an interesting line that David Duchovny's character said was, most of the things I worry about never happen anyway, and he's kind of got this type A personality, a little anxious, a worrywart, and they spend a lot of time talking about worrying about things. And my mother was a worrier, and I always thought that was odd because I thought, well, first of all, worrying doesn't accomplish anything, and you're spending a lot of mental energy and heart energy on things that might never happen. And then finally, I love this line. This was also spoken by David Duchovny's character. He says, if you talk about something, it's a dream. If you envision it, it's a possibility. If you schedule it, it's reality. Isn't that great? And I actually have tried to live my life that way. I think I've mentioned on other movie reviews when it has relevance to the movie I'm reviewing, how I used to just have this big long bucket list of things that I wanted to do, in my life before I kicked the bucket and die. And I would look at the list. I wrote it back when I was a teenager. And then throughout college, I kept adding more things. And then as I got married, I kept adding things and just kept looking at that list. And finally, I was like, I'm putting this stuff on the calendar. I'm going to make this stuff happen finally. And so I did. And it's made all of the difference. It's such an empowering feeling to put something on a checklist and cross it off. Anyway, I loved that line. All right, so let me tell you some movies that I think that are sort of similar, or at least I thought of instantly as I was watching this. The first one is called The Best of Me. Have you ever seen that one? It's a little bit of an older one. It's also a previous relationship coming back and reflecting on everything that happened. There's a franchise that has always just warmed my heart. I just really have liked it. It's called Before Sunset. And then there's, I think, Before Midnight, I forget what they're all called. But it's a young couple starring Ethan Hawke. And he meets a girl on, I think it was on a train. It's been a while since I've seen it. And they just have this connection. And you spend, all of this time with them on this train getting to know each other. And then they go their separate ways. Then they make this pact that they're going to meet again together, I think. No, I can't remember the details. But anyway, they meet again several years later and reflect on the time that has passed. Anyway, it's really cool. And it's, I think, a trilogy, if I remember correctly. Check those out. Another movie I'm giving you 4 today is Before We Go. Again, a conversation of relationships and reflection on life. And then Sweet Home Alabama, which is a cute rom-com, but also has some really good lessons about, comparing boyfriends, looking for the one, and looking at your life and your choices and the consequences and all of that kind of stuff. And that's a really sweet movie too. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for spending time with me. When you get a minute, run over to my Facebook group called Movie Review Mom, where we talk about movies, of course, and share funny memes and all kinds of other silly stuff. Have a fantastic day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.